hat today?
No, I'm
From the
wearing my
host,
headphone only.
from the host, you are the presenter today.
Yes, you're true.
Yeah. So please take your session, and then we'll rejoin you for Q&A.
Thank you, Monal sir, again, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. Before I start, I should thank the initiative of Sports Authority of India and Swimming Federation of India coming up with a wonderful coaches education program for a month. And there are a lot of people involved in this. We are going to not going to mention all the name at this point, but I'd like to thank the Director General of Sports Authority of India, Mr. Virendra Nanavati and Mr. Monal Choksi of Swimming Federation of India to ensure this happens. Today's topic is periodization, importance and approach. What we are going to discuss in today's topic, we are going to start with understanding the need of periodization, why we should be doing the periodization. Then we are going to discuss about the components of periodization. We will help you to understand the mesocycle and microcycle of periodization and how to plan your program for a particular season with some demonstration of it. And at the end, we wind up our program with a weekly plan, which is most important for the coaches. Now, when we think about periodization, let us go through this picture first. Let's see what we understand from this first. As you can see, there are two components, training and working out. So we need to ask our swimmers or ask ourselves, more than swimmer, of course. We need to ask ourselves as a coach, are we training our swimmers or we are just giving them working out? Now, if we are training our swimmers, then it has to come with a plan. So my first question for all of us, are we training or we are working out? Long back, I'll tell you, when we have started swimming, and there used to be a very popular question among coaches, how much volume you do per day. So when you fix the volume and try to measure everything in a single practice session, that's basically training. When you have a long-term goal with different approach of daily workout, so that's basically working out. But when you have a long-term goal with different approach of training every day, then you're actually working on training. My second question would be, if we think that we are training our swimmers, what we are preparing our athletes for? Are we preparing them for what are our short-term goal and what is our long-term goal? We need to ask ourselves also. For example, our short-term goal for a particular swimmer may be this swimmer should reach the national level. And maybe within 2 years, we want this swimmer to create a new national record. So that can be a long-term goal. Now, when we set our goal, the next part is how to achieve that goal. And here comes the answer. How do we execute our short-term or long-term goal? And the answer is through well-planned periodization. So let's come to the definition of periodization. What do you mean by periodization in terms of swimming, of course? In my view, periodization is the systematic planning of swimmers training. The aim is to reach the best possible performance in the most important competition of the year or years. Now, this is important. If you're training a swimmer and the swimmer is giving similar kind of performance in all the meet, they're not optimizing the swimmer for the main meet. You're not training them to give their best performance in the main meet. A well-planned swimmer supposed to give their best performance in the major meet. And of course, it also relates with some other factors like biocycle, nutrition, their mental stress, stuff like that. But generally, if all the other factors are neutral, a good swimmer who's under a proper periodization supposed to give their best performance in their target meet and average performance in the other meet. And if we are achieving the goal, we are setting the right kind of periodization for our swimmers. If it is not happening, then not to worry. We recognize our areas and we need to work on that. And we'll come to those points which will help you to understand which part of the training program you need to work out at the end. Periodization. The first part is know what you want to achieve, as we discussed before. Then the second part is design the training to achieve those goals. So once we know that what we want to achieve, then we need to know how to design the training to achieve this goal. Plan, test, and then be willing to make adaptation to the plan. Remember, coach's diary is very important. Whether you maintain in a book, whether you maintain that in your laptop, whatever way you like to do, but it's important to keep a diary. It's important to track record. Important to understand what you have done in the past and what you're going to plan for, what you're going to do for future. That's going to make you a better coach because you're always supported by good feedback of past. And that's the reason of maintaining diary. The theory of periodization comes from Hans Selye's general adaptation syndrome. This theory of general adaptation syndrome, or GAS, has made roughly in the year 1950s. It not only relates with the physical, it also relates with the mental stress of human body with some new input. So this got three phases. The first phase is alarm. So whenever we induce training in swimmer, जब हम लोग कोई swimmer को नया training approach में डालते हैं, whenever we induce swimmer into new training program, what we generally see, a swimmer get an initial level of fatigue. So they comes with excessive soreness at the beginning of the new program. होता है ना कभी हम लोग जब whenever you start a new program with the swimmer on the first 2 days, sir बहुत दर्द कर रहा है, बहुत pain कर रहा है. So that stage is basically alarm stage. The second part, after a few days of training, you'll see slowly and steadily the swimmer is adapting your training pattern. They are not complaining that much. And you can slowly see the improvement. So the first part, there's a decline. But the second part, you see the adaptation and you can see that they're slowly improving. At certain point, they reach the peak of the improvement. And after that, if you're still pushing them, you'll see slowly their performance is declining. And there comes the stage of exhaustion. We have to be very careful in this phase, and that is probably one of the major reasons of understanding periodization. That at what part, as a coach, we should recognize the fact that the extra training load is not going to be very helpful for them. They might go to a phase of overtraining. Overtraining is not at all a healthy sign in your coaching program. Let's do that in a graphical manner. Here's the performance graph. So as I said, when you induce the training load, the first step we call as accumulation. And you see the performance graph is going down in that. And then in the second stage, which we termed as transmutation, your body start adapting the training load and your performance is slowly going up. You reach the peak in the third stage, which is realization. But after reaching the peak, you can see your performance again going down. And this phase is called as transition. Now, if you don't plan your transition properly, then you may go to a zone called overtraining, which you don't want as a coach. As a coach, you don't want to overtrain your swimmer. And of course, as a coach, you want your target meet to come in this area. And that's what our target is. Let us go through the graph of performance and training time. So it goes like this. When you give the training stimulus, at initial stage, your performance is going to go down. And then your body start adapting the performance, adapting the training load, and you see your performance is slowly going high. It's reaching the peak. And then you'll get a rebound effect again if you plan your transition properly. That means if you give them right kind of rest, what they deserve to, not over resting, not under resting, whatever recovery they deserve to get. And once you get that, I'm talking about the picture on the light side, then the long-term approach is on the left side, which is shown on your left side small graph, that your performance is going to go up step by step by step by step, and you're not going to decline. And that is the magic of periodization if you can apply that properly. Factors. There are 4 major factors in periodization: long-term and annual plan, seasonal plan, microcycle, mesocycle, and microcycle. So long-term plan or annual plan, seasonal plan or macrocycle, mesocycle, and microcycle. What is long-term plan? What can be a long-term plan? Suppose you are a club level coach and you have joined the club. Your long-term plan may be 10 swimmers of my club getting national medals. That can be your long-term plan. It's not necessary that you might reach that level in a single year. It's not going to happen, because if you are joined a club which never have produced a national swimmer, and suddenly your vision is to produce 10 national swimmer in a year, it's not going to happen easily. So you might divide your long-term plan into 4 annual plan. I'll give an example of that. You can say in the first year, good performance in state meet, and maybe 1 swimmer in the national. In the second year, you may get 6 to 7 swimmer in the national with 2-3 finalists. In the third year, you may get 10 swimmers in national with 1 national medalist, and only then you can reach getting 10 swimmer national medal target. So there has to be when you do a long-term plan, it should be supported by annual plan. If you're a school level coach, suppose your target is to create 2 swimmers for World School Meet, and your school is not that good yet. So you can divide that long-term vision into 4 years annual plan. Like in the first year, your school may have top 2, maybe top 2 in the city. In the next year, you may target that 5 of your swimmers selected for CBSC national. In the third year, your target may be 3 medalists in school national. And your fourth year, your target may be 5 outstanding performance in school national with 2 selection in world school. And this is how you can achieve the long-term goal, and you can convert that into annual plan. If you're in a high performance center, it can be like this: 1 or 2 swimmers for Olympic or Asian Games. What's your long-term plan? Then you can divide that into annual plan, like 2-3 national record in the first year. Then in the second year, you may target 5 national record with 2 international participation. In the third year, you may try 10 national record with 3 international participation. In the fourth year, maybe you can achieve the goal of getting a swimmer in Olympic or Asian Games. That's how we can kind of do a long-term plan or annual plan. Now, when we talk about our annual plan, it is generally divided with 2 or 3 seasonal plan. In Indian context, let me give you some example. If you're working with a leading age group swimmer, then your seasonal plan, first seasonal plan can be maybe from February to July for junior national, then to June, probably for junior national, then from July to September, maybe senior national and board school national, and then from there, maybe for Khelo India meet, after school national till Khelo India meet. So you can have 3 different seasons. So that's how you can plan. Your mesocycle is, a lot of people call it as monthly cycle or 4-week cycle. It's not necessarily need to be 4-week, 5-week, 3-week. It also need based. So try to have more open mind, but generally it's generally lies between 2 to 8 weeks. But again, as a coach, you can always modify based on the need of your macro cycle. And the last component, which is your weekly plan, we'll term it as microcycle. So there are 3 cycles we have discussed so far. One is your macro cycle, which is your seasonal plan based on your annual target, of course. Second is your mesocycle, how you describe your microcycle into different parts. And then is your macro cycle, and then is your microcycle, which is your weekly plan. Let us discuss some of the components of your macro cycles. So what are the components of macro cycle? These are the components of macro cycle in my view. The first part is accumulation or general preparation. The second part is transmutation or specific preparation. Third part is realization or race preparation and competition. And fourth part, it's transition. You have seen in the gas theory that you will be a successful coach only if you manage to reduce the alarm stage, make it more comfortable, and you, let me go to that graph again. When you reduce this part, the alarm stage, and when you can increase the resistance stage, and when you can ensure that you don't go to the exhaustion stage. So when we do general preparation, we have to be very careful not to overload our swimmer, not to give them a training stimulus, which will take them into fatigue very quickly. So basically the idea of this kind of mesocycle is to develop your aerobic capacity. You of course need to work on your stroke mechanics, on the stroke mechanics and technique development of the kids. You need to work on the overall development of muscular strength, range of motion, and flexibility of the swimmer. So in dryland, your main workout should be overall development of muscular strength, range of motion, and flexibility. In water, your main target is going to be working on aerobic capacity development, stroke mechanics, and technique development. What will happen is, in this stage, we want our swimmers to improve the blood circulation and respiratory function. We want our swimmers to improve aerobic and anaerobic threshold capacity. And if you're a hardcore sprinter, then we also like to improve anaerobic power. So this is basically the main function of the first phase of your macro cycle, which we term as general preparation. The second phase of your macro cycle is termed as transmutation or specific preparation. In this phase, the major targets are this: improve lactic removal rate for fast twitch fibers. This is mainly for sprint-based swimmer. That doesn't mean that distance-based swimmer are not going to do it, but its main target is for sprint-based swimmer. For distance-based swimmer, the main target is oxygen consumption, slow twitch fiber, and few FTA fiber, fast twitch A fiber. The second part is developing stroke length and maintaining stroke length. So in this phase, which is specific preparation, you have already acquired new skills with your stroke mechanics. Now in the second phase, which is in general preparation, in second phase, you need to develop the stroke length, keeping the stroke frequency alive. Stroke rate is your stroke frequency per minute. And third is stroke specific development of muscular strength, range of motion, and flexibility. This is mainly for your dryland program. We want sprinters to do a little more lactic tolerance set in this phase compared to the distance swimmer, of course. And distance should do a little more overload endurance set and lactic removal set in this kind of set. Next, the most important thing, which is race preparation and competition. And here, these are the targets, these are the goals of this program. Improving aerobic and anaerobic power, optimizing stroke rate and stroke length ratio. Now, this is, as a coach, we need to understand very clearly. We were working on efficiency on a particular swimmer, and very rightly said by Pradeep sir in his speech, that we are working on the distance per stroke on a particular swimmer. Now, if that will also affect on the frequency of hand movement of that swimmer or stroke rate of the swimmer. So if you're increasing the length of the stroke length of the swimmer and reducing the frequency of the swimmer by a lot, it may not be very helpful if you want to be a sprinter. So you need to get the optimized stroke length, which will ensure that the swimmer can move their hand faster and also maximize the speed. मैं ये बोलना चाहता हूँ, let me try in Hindi, my Hindi is not that good. अगर कोई स्विमर का हर एक स्ट्रोक में जितना डिस्टेंस कवर करता है उससे ज्यादा डेवलप करने का कोशिश कर रहा है, वो बहुत बढ़िया है. मगर कभी कभी क्या होता है, जब एक स्ट्रोक में हम लोग ज्यादा डिस्टेंस कवर करने का कोशिश करते हैं, हम लोग का स्ट्रोक फ्रीक्वेंसी या हाथ घुमाने का स्पीड कम हो जाता है. समटाइम इट रिड्यूसेस. सो it should be well planned at this stage, which is your race preparation phase. हम लोग को देखना है कौन सा डिस्टेंस पर स्ट्रोक हम लोग को सबसे मैक्सिमम बेनिफिट देता है, जिसमें स्विमर अपना हाथ घुमाने का स्पीड भी मेंटेन कर सकता है. दे कैन मेंटेन देयर स्ट्रोक रेट. आई एम सॉरी, माय हिंदी इज प्रीटी बैड. The third part is refining racing skills. So we need to do a lot of race-based training to ensure broken set, or in other form, ultra race pace. So in other form, you need to ensure that you refine your racing skills. There has to be good amount of rest and recovery. The volume should come down and the intensity should come down. And at the end, the frequency of your training should come down also. What is frequency of training? Suppose you're doing 10 sessions in a week. So maybe in the last week, you may do 8 or 7 or maybe 9 sessions a week, but it should be less than what you generally do, apart from slashing volume, apart from slashing intensity at the last stage. And of course, in your dryland program, we do expect to convert strength to power in land, and of course, improve joint flexibility. After we reach our peak, which is our competition, then again, coming back to the same graph what we have discussed before, we have to be very careful about transition phase. This transition phase may come with active or passive recovery. In a simplified form, active recovery, you may ask the swimmer to come in the swimming pool and ensure that they do some recovery training, easy and comfortable aerobic based practice. You can give them a week of holiday or 2 weeks of holiday depending on your need of the program. That is your passive recovery. And of course, you start implementing the skill development for the next cycle. So this is the basic 4 components of macro cycle. I always find periodization is kind of boring because there's not enough visualization in it. But let's see what we can try. Now, these 2 pictures has been received from Dr. Ernest Maglisco. He's the author of Swimming Fastest and many top books and research journal. In his last speech in Dubai, these are the 2 pictures what he have shared. And this is the traditional approach of periodization. Traditional approach of periodization. You can have 2 options. One is linear periodization and there's undulating periodization. But again, the form is very simple. In a whole macro cycle, you train them in 4 phases or 5 phases. In the first phase is general preparation. Second phase is specific preparation. Third phase is race preparation and taper. And 4th phase is transition. So this is the way you're supposed to do. Transition is not written here, but you can assume that right after that, there'll be transition. So either you totally maintain a certain amount of volume and an intensity level in the whole phase, or you can kind of change it a bit during that particular meso phase. So 2 examples are given. Though it's very easy to see graph and understand all this thing, but it is very important for us to what is the practical approach as a coach. हमने सीख लिया, I've understood all this thing, but how do I write, how do I plan, हम कैसे plan करेंगे इसको, कैसे implement करेंगे? So let us go to an Indian context and let me show you what probably I have done. Not necessary, and please understand this. Whatever I'm going to do, it's not necessarily going to work for you or maybe for someone. So it depends on your personal preference, but I can give you a guideline what kind of thing I generally believe in and I generally like to do for our swimmers. So in our center, our one of the major meet is Khelo India. So probably after Khelo India, we give them some rest. Say 2 years back, we had our Khelo India in the month of January middle. Then we have given 2 weeks rest to swimmers and we have asked them to resume training from 1st February. Now, when we resume training from 1st February, for our average swimmer, our next major meet was Junior National. So let us see how we are going to plan a bunch of swimmer, because most of you coaches would love to take their swimmer in age group national, which is junior and sub-junior. So how we are going to plan your swimmer for upcoming junior or sub-junior national after your Khelo India meet or after your transition phase. So this is the kind of micro seasonal plan I maintain for our swimmers. So it's very simple. You can actually draw it in your notebook with some straight line in it. When you start planning this kind of progression, you always start from the target competition. So पहले आप target कर लो, आपका target competition कब होगा? So मान लीजिए आपका target, your target competition is between 27 June to 4 July week. So as you can see, I've started with that. So it's a 25-week plan, and I've started with my target week, which is week 22nd and week 23rd. One second, yeah. Even I can't see certain things. Which is week 22nd and week 23rd. So once I set my target meet, then I'm going to go for the meet before. So this is a better approach of preparing your periodization. So of course you're going to give them 2-week taper. It depends also, you know, distance swimmer may get 1-week taper, sub-junior may get 1-week taper, a senior swimmer may get 2-week taper, but I don't suggest 3-week taper for an age grouper yet, you know. Age grouper means boys group 1 or girls group 1 or 2, and not yet. Unless they, you know, cross 18, I would rather, you know, keep them for 2-week taper. Again, it depends on you as a coach, your philosophy, what kind of training program you'd like to add up for them. So taper 1, week number 21, and taper 2 is week number 20. And then you draw the chart. Now, if you look at, let me go to the left side and let's start from the beginning. So my first part I've written as preparatory. Now think about it. I didn't mention in my last phase, when we talk about macro cycle, I didn't mention preparatory, but I mentioned a thing called transition. So you can say this preparatory is actually a transition of active recovery from the previous cycle. So what we have to do, as I said, in the transition phase, it's short of recovery. So you need to ensure that they're comfortable. On the first week, you just work on efficiency and DPS. You can see the distance and stroke. I have 2 groups. I don't like to call age group a swimmer sprinter yet. I mean, even I agree with Chris Martin's talk, which has been done day before yesterday, and he mentioned it very nicely that, you know, don't judge a swimmer as a sprinter at a very early age, and we don't like to do that also. But yes, a swimmer who's towards sprint, we call them stroke. A swimmer who's towards distance, we call them distance. That's what we do basically for our group. So in the second week, we can have a lot of team meeting, because your swimmer should know what you're planning for, what your aim, and how you're going to go by it. In the second week, we are going to do some screen work again, and we can do some team meeting. Our main target is to develop technique, work more on DPS or distance per stroke. And what I do generally at the beginning of the season, when the swimmer is back, we try to take a T20 test. T20 test is nothing but you ask a swimmer to do 20 minutes of swimming with a higher pace and see what is the maximum distance they can achieve and record that. And you can convert that into your pace per 100. In the previous session, we have discussed about it. And there are Khelo India accredited tests in which T20 is also mentioned. So you can place the T20 set at the beginning of the season, in my view, to understand how they are doing at the beginning of the season. And you can also compare that with the previous macro cycle and try to understand whether they have actually, if you have given them some passive recovery or you have given them some rest for a week or two, whether they have actually rested properly, didn't train at all, or they have done a bit of training or something. So that'll give you a bit of idea about it, which will help you, of course, in future. Now, before I continue, let me tell you about the shade. If you look at this chart, you can see some shade. When you look at preparatory, the shade is very light, whitish, more whitish. General preparation, it's slightly more shaded. Preparation 2 is more shaded, specific preparation. So these shades are actually your intensity level. So I purposely put this shade to make you understand what kind of intensity, what kind of effort in training the kids are going to do. So there are two parts. One is your effort, which is intensity. Kitna जोर लगा रहा है training में. One is your volume. So effort and volume. So these two are different. So on the right side, if you can see, I mentioned the volume in kilometer on weekly basis. So 30, 25, 35, 30 are the volume per week in kilometers. We generally do 10 sessions in a week. So that's basically volume. In general preparation, coming back to the next stage, which is general preparation 1. Generally, general preparation is supposed to be bigger in traditional approach of macro cycle. We'll also come to the other approach of macro cycle. And specific preparation is slightly smaller than general preparation, and race preparation is slightly smaller. And of course, taper is the minimum. And you can see that. So we have divided the general preparation into 2 mesocycles. So the phase of general preparation has been divided into 2 mesocycles, week 3 to week 6 and week 7 to week 10. I think I'm going too slow. I'll try to make it faster as soon as possible. In this stage of phase 1, my main aim would be aerobic development of a particular stroke where you're more comfortable. We generally choose freestyle or backstroke. What do you need to do? You need to do a lot of aerobic cruise work and development in this phase. And in the next phase, you must do more IM work. So you kind of mix the stroke in this phase because you're improving the swimmer generally overall. So one phase where, you know, they don't get enough injury or they're safe. So you try and work on freestyle. And once you see that the aerobic capacity has been developed, then in the second week, you try to mix the stroke, maybe IM. And then aerobic skill adaptation. So you have developed the skill and then you adapt the skill. Again, 1 week for freestyle, 1 week for mixed stroke. And in the general preparation 2, I'll have to give them progressive overload of aerobic, not on intensity, progressive overload of aerobic. That means the volume is going to go higher step by step, week by week. Week 1, as you can see, the volume is 52 for distance, 45 for stroke, week 2, 56, 47, and week 3, 60 and 49. The volume is going to increase. But after 3 weeks, I don't want them to overload on the 4th week. So what I would rather do, I want to see that what is the effect of this overloading. So I'm going to do some test sets. So at the end of every phase, if you look at it, we do some test set. So in general preparation 1, the test set can be 3 kilometer to see the aerobic capacity, kicking test, efficiency test. All these tests you can get from the Khelo India website. In general preparation 2, the test set can be 1 kilometer IM or kick set. And then we go to specific preparation. Again, we are going to start with overloading, but here we're going to overload in terms of aerobic and anaerobic. So we are slowly going to overload them in both areas, aerobic and anaerobic. The target set in this phase in the first week can be heart rate set and VO2 max set. In the second week, it's going to be heart rate set, VO2 max set, lactic production and removal. In the third week, it can be hard in the same manner, but the volume is going to be more intense. The fourth week, we'll again do the adaptation and we'll do some test set to see the effect of specific preparation or the effect of aerobic and anaerobic. And then again, we march. In the fifth week, I call it march. March is basically, converting your capacity into power. So we try to do a bit of training where we are going to challenge them. So it'll be more, test set or challenging set kind of thing. Here, again, the main suggested sets are heart rate set, VO2 max, or USRPT. The race preparation mesocycle starts with quality 1. This is going to be very intense. The kids are going to feel a lot of pain. In specific, they may feel tiredness, but in race, they may feel pain. So we may have VO2 max, USRPT, lactic tolerance, and lactic production set. LT and LT is more preferred for stroke-based swimmers or sprint-based swimmer. Same goes for the next, and then we can do a test set of 7 into 200 to get the lactic curve where they are going, and then we can also do some 4 into 25 sprints. And then we can go to a March week again with broken set, and we can see what is the adaptation in that. And of course, then you end up with taper. In taper, I generally believe in giving one short rest practice, then one long rest practice, and then a recovery practice, and then one passive recovery on a rest. So this is how generally we plan our practice. And then of course, when you go for junior or sub-junior national, you make sure any major meet, you make sure you as a coach, you do not only just take the timing of the swimmer, also do some race analysis, which will be discussed tomorrow by Ilya. This is one approach of periodization, which is very linear. Now, what we do now and what I believe now and what is very popular in the world, and I've been talking to Chris, he also said, I'm going to try something new, and I understand what he want to try is probably the block periodization. Now, this is a new approach of periodization. So you can see the training blocks. So suppose you start from 12th January and your major meet is 15th July. You don't want to do in the previous block approach what you have done. You have spent a lot of time in general preparation. Then the second phase, a lot of time in specific preparation. And in the third phase, you did race preparation and taper. What if we do a different approach and take 1.5 months, suppose it's 6 months, and take 1.5 months, major in the first phase, your major focus is general preparation, though you do a little bit of specific preparation and do a small amount of race preparation. In the second one, slightly less general preparation, slightly more specific preparation, and a little more race preparation. So what you need to do at the end of every block, you try and do a time trial and see the effect of your training. So maybe in your first block, your target is stroke mechanics and technique. In the second block, your target may be aerobic capacity development. So see in the local meet whether you have achieved your target. In the third block, you can see you're going to competition period from preparatory period. So in the third block, your target is to check, maybe your target is to check the aerobic power and anaerobic capacity of the swimmer. So if you have district or state meet and if you're preparing the swimmer for national and you're sure they're going to go to national, then maybe you can try this. So general preparation may be slightly smaller than this, put more attention on specific preparation and increase your race preparation block. And right after that, the last part, which is more towards your race and your target is race preparation, you do a mild general preparation, average specific preparation, and focus more time on race preparation and recovery. Now, this is another approach of periodization, and it is, I think, I do feel that it's going to be good. It's going to be great. And let us discuss the relation between these two. In traditional periodization and block periodization, traditional periodization, low to medium training load, where block periodization is going to be more high intense. In traditional, long mesocycle, in block, short and more intense mesocycle. By the way, we got some pretty good result applying the block periodization in our training program. So not necessarily that's going to work for you, not necessarily it's going to work for all the coaches, but you need to understand the need. We are going to give you some options you can choose as a coach based on your swimmer, of course. Detailed work on a particular energy zone in traditional, mixed energy zone work. In block, you're more working on the mix. So you're not working on detail. So if you're age group, if you're working with a very basic age group swimmer, I strongly recommend that you should work on traditional periodization because you want them to learn every step properly. Once their training years or training age is more than 3-4 years, maybe you can think of block periodization. But a swimmer who haven't done 3-4 years of advanced level training workout, I don't suggest that you should be going for block periodization. Good for athletes with less training age and good for athletes with higher training age, as we discussed. Swimmer get peak once in a macrocycle and swimmer get multiple peak. So what happens when you do multiple peak, may not be the maximum peak, but multiple peak, you try to understand whether your training effect is going proper or not, and you can correct that in block. But in traditional, you don't have that scope unless you test them in the ultimate meet. Here, the volume is going to be higher. There, the volume intensity is going to be higher. Advantage of block periodization, just go through it. Let me read the last point of this, which I believe is very important. Athlete joined in the mid-season or was absent in the middle of training may get training effect of different component despite training in group. What do you mean by that? मान लीजिए आपके पास कोई swimmer है, जब आपका general preparation, when you are working on general preparation at that phase, the swimmer was either injured or he was busy with exam, he didn't come and attend the training. But since you have to run the whole program, you cannot give a separate practice for a particular swimmer maybe, then this approach is better. This kind of, when the swimmer suddenly joins, they leaves, this kind of approach is better because again, you're getting an opportunity to revive your general preparation. In other approach of traditional periodization, you don't get an opportunity of revival that, you don't get to go back to general preparation and come back to specific preparation because you're just going in one line. So I feel it's a good approach. The limitation of traditional periodization, possibility of less improvement due to lower intensity and conflict with other training modalities. Now, this is something I want coaches to understand. When we talk about endurance or when we talk about doing very basic aerobic work, we need to ask ourselves, are we building the endurance? What we are building? Are we building the endurance of our cardiovascular system, respiratory system, or we are also building the endurance of your muscle? If you feel that you're building the endurance of muscle with a very low intensity work, it's not going to happen. Why? Because whenever you put some load on your hand or leg, if the load is very less, your neuromuscular system automatically tells your muscle bundle, okay, 60% of your muscle should do that work. So 40% of your muscle are actually resting and 60% of your muscle is actually working. So if you do a very low intensity work for several number of days, though we have improved your cardiovascular system, though we have improved your respiratory system, you might have got more mitochondria in your certain cells and stuff like that, but your muscle may not have got good endurance because you haven't engaged all the muscle. So a variable speed practice is more approachable nowadays. With elite athlete, high intense training load for only one or two physical, with elite athletes, highly intense training loads for only one or two physical abilities produce better result. The human body does not adapt as well to many types of stimulus at once. Greater potential of overtraining when too many different types of stimuli are applied at once. So this is, let's go to these two pictures just to give you two approach of periodization. The first approach, just look at the linear periodization. It will be more easier for you to understand. At the top, it is intensity. At the bottom, it's volume. And this is how you plan your program. And just look at the block preparation. The same approach, same target at the end, but here you have a different approach of dividing it into flow, 4 blocks. Every block should be composed of all the 3 factors separately. My last part is microcycle or weekly planning. It's already 50, I think I'm not late, or Monal sir, stop me, when you feel like it's...
No, please go ahead, just finish it, it's no problem.
Yeah. Okay, so my last part of this thing, it's before you weekly planning. Now, before you think of doing weekly planning, don't just jump into weekly planning without understanding what kind of component to be placed where. हम लोग जब weekly planning करते हैं, मान लीजिए आज we are going to do sprint, tomorrow we are going to do that, next day we are going to do this. But before you do that, you need to understand, are you giving adequate rest before you repeat the same factor in that week? So there can be several factors in training. You can do extensive aerobic work, which is generally regeneration and technique work. So the recovery time for this is generally one second. So the recovery time for this is generally 8 to 12 hours, which means आप अगर normal technique work, basic aerobic development work कर रहे हो, after one session, so if you are doing 2 sessions in a day, after one session you can repeat the same session. There's no problem. So that is something you need to keep in your mind while doing the weekly periodization. The second part is incentive endurance work, which is your aerobic capacity. Now, aerobic capacity ke liye, you need to make sure that you give 24 to 30 hours rest before you repeat that set. So if you have done some aerobic capacity work today morning, you cannot do that aerobic capacity work in today afternoon. You at least have to wait for 24 hours to 30 hours to ensure the body gets enough recovery. अगर आप swimmer को enough recovery नहीं दोगे उस component में, swimmer may get tired, but should not get fatigued from a particular component. If they get fatigued, there's a scope of overtraining, their performance may decline, which you don't want. And you can see the other components, sprint and short rest. Now, this sprint and short rest is not ATP-CP work. ATP-CP work is different, where you go to walk for 15 meters, hardcore sprint, which of course you can put throughout your macro plan. Season में कभी भी आप short sprint कर सकते हैं of 15 meter or 20 meter or with fins and paddle, very short high speed work. You should be doing it every day in some way or others in your practice session. That is a different metabolism altogether. We have discussed that in our previous classes by the previous speakers. We have extensive anaerobic training where you need a rest of 36 to 48 hours. What is extensive anaerobic training? It's anaerobic capacity development. And then, which is more like VO2 max, and intensive anaerobic, which is more like lactic tolerance. Extensive is VO2 max, maybe lactic removal, stuff like that. And intensive is more like lactic tolerance. And aerobic power, heart rate set can be termed as aerobic power. So just make sure that you ensure sufficient amount of rest in those components. Intensive strength training, or so what do you mean by this? जब आप strength training करते हो, make sure you give 48 hours. If you are doing solid amount of strength training, you need to ensure that you give 48 hours rest to the swimmer. If you are doing average power-based strength training, you need to give them about 40 hours rest. So these are the components which you need to keep in mind. यानी कि मैं क्या बोलना चाहता हूँ कि कितना गैप मेंटेन करेंगे एक पैटर्न प्रैक्टिस को रिपीट करने से पहले, what kind of gap you need to maintain. Let me show you the one of the macro cycle maybe during the specific phase of our training. Yeah, you can see that there are three areas what I've mentioned: distance, middle distance, and sprint, just to give you understanding. So if you look at the previous chart, I've written that distance in some part of specific preparation need to maintain a volume of 58 kilometers, where sprint need to maintain a volume of 48 to 46 kilometers. So it's basically a weekly plan of that particular week. So what you're going to do generally in the first day, if you start on Monday, this is again my thought. Again, each coach have their own variety, and you can place your plan according to your choice. I'm just giving you some guideline what I believe in, but it can always change and new ideas can always come. So what I generally do, I like to do aerobic development on the first day for mid distance, aerobic development again, and power circuit maybe for sprint. Monday afternoon we can do heart rate set for both mid distance and distance, and we can do anaerobic threshold for sprint. So it's slightly more aerobic based. Power circuit is basically more on power based workout. You can do a lot of things with cord, and Ilya have demonstrated some nice start and turn work with cord and other things. And with shocks, you can use that in your power circuit. That's going to be very helpful. Power circuit, always develop your technical component apart from your sprinting component also. Kick pull Tuesday morning, because you need to give some rest. Kick pull again after heart rate set, make sure that you give some rest to your body. I'll give you a very simple example of heart rate set. Heart rate set is basically you hold your heart rate at a higher zone between a range of say 150 to 170, 80 for about 30 minutes. So the workout may be 20 into 100 at 1 minute 45 second on, where you need to kind of try to swim at a good pace, which will hold your heart rate to a range between 150 to 170 throughout. So you're not going to give them enough rest, but you also want them to swim faster, but not to the maximum speed. At the end of the set, they're going to get a lot of fatigue. It's going to be a aerobic power work. So make sure that you come back with some aerobic developmental or recovery work after that. So it's kick, pull, ATP, CP, stuff like that. Tuesday evening, we can do lactic production and removal. This is something you must understand. Production of lactic acid is okay, but while swimming, your body is able to remove the lactic acid also. If you are just producing and not removing, you're going to fail at the end, you're going to get fatigued, you're never going to do well at the last part of your race. And this, of course, very important for mid-distance and distance swimmer. It's also important for sprint, but more important for mid-distance and distance swimmer to ensure that you not only know how to produce lactic acid, you should also know how to remove your lactic acid. And that's some fundamental you need to develop. Whereas, as I said, for sprinters, you need more lactic tolerance set. So on Tuesday evening, you can do more lactic tolerance and lactic production set. The volume is written there. Wednesday morning, we generally do off. So off for all the sessions. Wednesday evening, I would rather love to do some over distance set, comfortable base for distance swimmers, aerobic cruise for mid-distance swimmer. I might do a dry land if needed for mid-distance swimmer. And aerobic mix. Aerobic mix means you mix your stroke. You can do IM work with aerobic in that phase. Thursday, kick and HVO. What is HVO? HVO is 20-meter all-out swimming with dive. Maybe you can do finish. Maybe you can do fins and paddle. So power swimming, short sprints. And VO2 max for all the swimmers, all the categories, probably on Thursday afternoon, we'll have to do efficiency and pull, efficiency, kick, pull, HVO and recovery. Now, if you look at it, suddenly we dropped the volume by a lot to sprint group, only 2.5 kilometer on that day, because we just want them to get a good amount of active recovery on that day. Sprinter cannot handle a lot of load, lot of stress. They cannot handle that. So we like to do that. But again, sprinter, you need to realize who are sprinters. If you are still in the age group category, don't term them as sprinters very early. Friday, aerobic development for my distance group, kick pull with gears. Gears means fins, paddle, parachute, snorkel, stuff like that. And same goes for our sprint group. Saturday, you can do anaerobic threshold or heart rate set for distance-based swimmer. You can choose between heart rate set and lactic production and removal for mid-distance swimmer, and lactic production and removal for sprint because they haven't done it. Now, how I derive that? How you're going to place the dry land then? So dry land for distance swimmer, you don't need many dry land. So you can do 2 dry land sessions. So you can place one on Tuesday and one on Friday. You can, for sprinters, they of course need dry land training. So you can place them on Monday, and you can place them on Wednesday, and you can also place them on Friday. So Monday and Friday is going to be more intensive base, and Wednesday is going to be more extensive base, so that you get enough recovery, you don't get fatigued. So this is basically the thought process for weekly planning. How does the training affect? We have discussed a lot of things: aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, aerobic power, anaerobic power. Why we would be doing that, and how does the training affect? So this is a curve of an untrained swimmer and a trained swimmer. On the left side is the blood lactate in millimole, how much blood lactate you're producing. Suppose a swimmer in this category, a swimmer's maximum blood lactate is 11. So after 11, that swimmer is going to get total fatigue, so he cannot swim any faster. And on the bottom, the speed of the swimmer. So looking at this curve, we can for sure say at untrained level, this is the peak of the swimmer, or this is the performance of that swimmer. We'll call it pre-training performance. For example, 1 minute 2 seconds in 100 meter freestyle. What we want to achieve? What we want to achieve in training? The first part, what we want to achieve in training, we want to push this curve, as you can see my cursor, down. That's the first approach of training, or we call it aerobic capacity. So aerobic capacity is going to flatten the curve downward. So that's kind of training we like to do at the beginning of the beginning part. Then the other part of training is aerobic power. Aerobic power ensures that it pushes the lower part of the curve to the side, lower part of the curve to the side. So when you do aerobic power training, it pushes the lower part of the curve to the side. Then when you work on anaerobic capacity, it actually pushes the upper part of this lactic curve to the side. It pushes it to the side. And when you work on anaerobic power, it makes it more sharp and higher. So these are the way different training zone works to develop your performance. So as you can see, no matter you're a distance swimmer or you're a sprinter, you'd be needing all these components. Maybe different, the application may be different, the volume or quantity may be different, but you would be needing all these 4 components for your swimmers. And once you apply all these 4 components, you can see the outcome, post-training performance, example, maybe 58.2 in 100 meter freestyle. It is very easy to say, but these are very challenging also. Why? Because the moment you try to move aerobic capacity, push aerobic capacity upward in your training, your anaerobic and aerobic power goes down, unfortunately. So ऐसा नहीं कि एक के बाद एक हम लोग place कर सकते, because the moment you place one component of your training, suppose you're placing the aerobic capacity in your training, your anaerobic power and aerobic power will go down. When you push your aerobic power, your aerobic power and anaerobic capacity will go down. When you push the anaerobic power in your training, your aerobic capacity and anaerobic capacity goes down. When you push the anaerobic capacity in your training, your aerobic power goes down. So when you push one component of your training, your other component of your training goes down. So it's very important for us to mix and match properly to maximize the output from training. It is something you need to understand. So once again, let me repeat for those who haven't understood. When we want to push aerobic capacity when you want to induce more aerobic capacity in the training, it's very good. You're inducing. Yeah, so this part is going down. But the bad part is the anaerobic and aerobic power will fall, will go down. When you're pushing the aerobic power up, more aerobic power, more heart rate set, more anaerobic threshold set, more of this kind. What will happen? Your aerobic power and anaerobic capacity will go down. When you put more anaerobic power, your aerobic capacity and anaerobic capacity will go down. When you push more anaerobic capacity, your aerobic power will go down. So you need to mix and match all these components, and that's why the reason of doing periodization. Otherwise, no matter you have done all the component of training, but you haven't placed it properly, you may end up with failure, which you don't want. Now, this is some of the symptoms.
Wrap this
Sorry.
up for the Q&A to happen. I think you can do that in 30 seconds if we have not too many slides.
So this is some slides which you can see. We will be sharing this slide with you to understand which swimmer need what. On the left side, it's aerobic capacity. On the right side, on the bottom side and the top side, it's anaerobic capacity. Left side, it's low. Right side, it's high. This chart might be helpful. We got it from John Alberch. It's a very good reference for coaches to understand what a swimmer is going to feel. And there's some classification of training exercise. What is anaerobic capacity? What is aerobic capacity, aerobic power, and anaerobic power with some demonstrated set. And with that, I thank you all for bearing this topic of periodization.
Thank you, Coach Partha, for that excellent session on periodization. I'm sure all the coaches present will find this very useful. May I request Nikita to get Bhushan Kumar in the front so that we may...
I have already unmuted Mr. Bhushan. Is he there?
And have you joined him as a co-host?
Yep.
I can see Chris. By the way, Chris, I loved your idea of capacity and power.
Okay, so Bhushan, if you need to kind of unmute yourself and start your video. You see that he's unmuted himself.
No, that's a different Bhushan Kumar. I can take some other question if you want. Let me see.
Okay, let's just proceed. And there is a BHUSHAN as the co-host here.
No, that's not the no. Nikita, remove him. He's not Bhushan.
Okay.
Or you can get Pradeep Kumar here if you can spot him.
Also,
He's also there.
Yep. I have unmuted Mr. Pradeep.
Okay, that's fine.
Hi Pradeep, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hi, Partha, good presentation.
thank you, sir.
Yeah, I can just go through some questions and help you out.
Yeah, you can take the lead on the questions and I'll just go through some myself.
Yeah, this is from again Rajiv. Do you really think taper is required for the age groups?
As I said, as I mentioned, I am not a strong believer of taper for age group swimmer, and especially if you haven't got puberty, as well said by Chris Martin. Don't think of, don't make your practice so complicated. So pre-puberty, I don't suggest taper at all. Yeah, of course, there'll be a slightly more intensity in the training and slightly less volume at the end, but not a serious kind of taper for a kid who haven't reached their puberty. If a kid have reached their puberty, you should do progressive taper. That means for a kid who have just reached puberty and who have gone through few year of training, they may do a week taper. For higher level, you can go for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's what I do feel. I hope that answers your question.
Right, okay. Another question is on what base that we can fix the training load like, you know, AT, LT, VO2 max, over distance, sprint, etc. in a week.
Yes, we have just discussed and we have shown you the curve of super compensation. So when you're going to put all these components, the first part is what is the need of your meso? What kind of practice you mainly want to do in that particular mesocycle? So if your focus is more towards specific overloading, so maybe you can do a little more VO2 max, a little more lactic production and removal for your swimmers. So you try and place 2 lactic production set or one VO2 max set or stuff like that, but keeping the gap based on the super compensation chart.
All right, okay.
I don't know whether I managed to answer that, but as I said, you can first you understand the component you want to do based on your meso need, and then place that based on the recovery chart. You know, what is the optimum recovery time they need to ensure that you should not repeat that set again.
So another question is, can you explain the meaning of traditional periodization?
Meaning of traditional periodization means the linear approach of periodization or the undulating. I mean, generally the linear approach of periodization is termed as traditional method of periodization.
Yeah, I can find some question, Mr. Oxy.
Yeah, there's somebody who's asking, can you please put some light on how we can incorporate dryland training in a periodization plan? And also, can you please discuss a bit on block periodization versus reverse periodization?
Yeah, reverse periodization. I'm not a very strong believer of reverse periodization. So it starts with more intensity at the beginning and it ends with more volume at the end. So it's basically a reverse approach of I somehow don't feel that reverse periodization implies to swimming that much. So we didn't mention that much. It's a concept, but I don't know how much. I'm not very sure that how much it is helpful for swimming. Regarding the sir, what was the next question? Reverse, apart from reverse.
That was about how to incorporate dryland.
I think I have already mentioned that how to incorporate dryland in our program. What do you need to do in your general phase? In the general preparatory phase, you should do overall strength development, range of motion and flexibility. In specific preparation phase, you should build the specific strength, range of motion and flexibility. In the race preparation phase, you should convert that strength into power so that you get more intense speed.
Very good question. How do you realize that you are overtraining the athletes, and once you realize, how you reverse it?
Can you repeat that, sir?
How do you realize as a coach that you are overtraining your athlete? And once you realize it, how are you going to reverse it?
Yes. So I do suggest that test sets are something to understand different component of training. So you can do certain test set to understand whether the aerobic capacity of the swimmer reached the peak. And in the next test, if you see the aerobic capacity of the swimmer is going down, but you're still inducing the aerobic capacity practice, you can see that the swimmer is not able to handle the training load. So it's going down. For example, anaerobic capacity, if you're doing the anaerobic capacity based practice and you do a test set, and after that the next test set is showing you adverse effect, though you have induced the training, so maybe that can give you idea of understanding that you might be pushing the swimmer, for certain training pattern, but it is not giving you a positive effect. So you need to rethink, and you must think that, swimmer you might be overtraining the swimmer.
There are a few, probably some scientific tests that they can do right now. It's available. Is you can just go into a blood test and do your blood urea nitrogen, and
Yes.
kind of worsening symptoms. There are worsening symptoms like the lack of sleep, excessive loss of weight, not reacting good with the workout, and quarreling with the own swimmers and not listening to the coaches. All those symptoms that the coach can find if that swimmer is not actually going to the verge of overtraining. So it's easy to identify if you are training a swimmer for quite some time. I think to add with the Partha.
Yeah. Can't
Yeah.
agree more. Perfect.
One question that I just saw is, suppose somebody misses practice for a week with whatever reason it is. How much effect that is going to have him in his training?
Again, it depends on which block of training he is training in. And so if it is in general phase, you can recover quickly. But if it is at race preparation phase, the recovery time it may affect your performance a lot. So it depends on which phase of training you are in.
Question from John: How a coach understand a swimmer is already been buffered or removed the lactic acid from his body after high intensity work?
Yeah, there are certain practice like lactic production and removal set. So maybe you can do. Let me give an example. Say I do a 2 into 100 strong high intensity practice, and say 3 into 100 high. Then you give 100-meter recovery, not very intense recovery, modified recovery, and then you ask the swimmer to do 2 into 50 at a certain target time. If the swimmer is not able to do that target time, it's not going to be very intense, but it's going to be average target time. If the swimmer is not able to do that target time, you can make out, then probably, lactic acid is still in their body and they didn't manage to remove that within that span of 100 recovery. There are various practice you can do. Maybe I can send you a mail regarding certain practice we believe in for lactic production and removal sets. But again, we can judge it without doing the lactic also, but just looking at the timing of the swimmer, how much timing they're clocking or what kind of time they're clocking.
Thanks, Choksi. Mr. Choksi.
There's a question on how to develop stroke length while maintaining stroke rate.
So how to develop stroke length? Developing stroke
Improve
length.
stroke length. I guess that's what he means.
Yes. So developing stroke length, don't work on the stroke frequency initially. First, you try to improve the stroke length or develop the stroke length and see whether you have reached the optimum stroke length of your one. For example, if a swimmer is doing, say, 25 stroke in 50-meter butterfly, try to work on the stroke length and ensure that the swimmer managed to get under 20 stroke in 50-meter. And once you can see that swimmer can do multiple repetition of that, of 20 stroke cycle in 50-meter, then try to work on the frequency, then try to push frequency and see whether he can still hold it. And that's the way to improve the stroke length and also stroke frequency. So the first thing comes is stroke length, and then should be adaptation with different stroke frequency.
Right.
There's another question being asked, which is your views on dryland training during taper.
As I said, taper period dryland training should be more towards power base. Now the strength and power is like this. I'm pumping up 50 kilos of weight. I'm actually working on my strength, but I'm doing it for 2 times. I'm doing 10 times, but 20 kilos of weight. That is more on my power. So I believe that in taper phase, swimmer should be doing more on power than strength. In strength training.
Yeah, I think more or less most of the questions are repeating. So
Somebody who's asking, sir, do you suggest T20 in the beginning of a season? But it's not, is it not too early for take endurance test after 2 week gap? Do you think it's right time to judge swimmer average pace in the beginning of the season? Can you explain why you're recommending it?
Sure. Now, I am not recommending T20 for the sake of understanding the average pace of the swimmer. For the sake of understanding the average pace of swimmer, this is what I do. And of course, it depends on the coaches. For the sake of understanding the T30 pace of a swimmer, we do a test called 3000 meter swimming. So that's a different set altogether. So that's basically we start, and I've shown in my chart when we generally do 3 kilometers of practice. T20 is just to understand the fitness level of the swimmer at the beginning of the season. This is what I feel. And so if I ask a swimmer to do 20-minute swimming, any swimmer can just do it. So we just need to see the fitness level of the swimmer at the beginning of the season compared to the fitness level in the last season. So we just kind of keep a track of that. So that will give us an understanding that after coming from holiday, what kind of holiday they have actually gone through. Or some swimmer we have also seen that, though we have sent them for holiday, they keep practicing. So you can make out and understand, and then you can take measure, and then you can kind of segregate them into different group of your one. That's the reason of my doing T20. But for getting the pace, I do 3K.
There's a question coming in which says, and I'm not, does T20 measure a correct fitness level for a breaststroker?
No, T20 is general, I just mentioned, no, T20 is freestyle. You can ask swimmer to do any stroke. For breaststrokers, there are different set and different way of measuring their pacing. 3 kilometer is not suggested for breaststroker. You can do in freestyle. So this is basically your aerobic base. I don't suggest breaststrokers to do breaststroke for T20.
No, I think your question means, is you doing T20 with freestyle, is it a correct measure for testing the fitness level for a breaststroker?
Yes. Fitness level, on what angle you want to know, I'm not sure, but of course, fitness level, if it is basic aerobic fitness level, T20 is a good set, even if you're doing freestyle. So that will give you an understanding about freestyle. But if it is stroke specific, that is something different. But again, at the beginning of the season, we just want to be general.
And you're aware that we've taken many questions in the previous sessions also, Partha, on especially the regions which have longer winter months and get a fewer months of training. And there is one specific question here today as well, that due to exams and winters, they get only 9 weeks of training before the open state meet. So could you suggest a short-term plan, like how many weeks for an endurance cycle, sprint, tapering, etc., when they have only 9 weeks available before their important state meet?
Well, if it is 9 weeks, say 1 week for race preparation. So let's start from the reverse. Then maybe 1 week for taper, 2 weeks for race preparation. So you cover 3 weeks. Then maybe 3 weeks for your specific practice and 3 weeks for general preparation. That will cover your 9 weeks. If you don't want to give taper, you can do 4 weeks of general preparation, 3 weeks of specific, and 2 weeks of race preparation.
We are already at 11:18, and maybe we have time for maximum 2 or 3 questions. I'll pose this one. Meanwhile, Pradeep can look at some possible questions that Partha can address. What do you recommend for coaches to manage the swimmers coming back to the pool after such a long off season due to the COVID-19 lockdown? How should they manage the training phase post-COVID?
Okay, first we need to ensure what we are doing during COVID. That is, as a coach, it's very important. So you must keep in touch with the swimmer. We must make sure that they are doing some form of dry land to keep their fitness. Also ensure that they are keeping their body weight intact. So these are the two areas what you are supposed to do right now. And right after the COVID gets over, uh, make sure you don't just jump into hard practice immediately. Do it very, very slow. Start with cross sport at the beginning. You can do swimming a bit and spend a lot of time with games and basic aerobic dryland activity, and then slowly and steadily jump into more swimming hours. So for me, I would rather more recommend more uh, working on cross sports on the first few days to make them mentally more settled, and then slowly try and jump into the water, because otherwise what will happen, the kids also after a long gap, they try to push themselves a lot in the water at the initial stage, which might end to overtraining or injury. So which of course we don't want also.
So there is one question which come from from Sajjan. Somebody gets injured in the second block of your training periodization playing
Right.
plan. And what do you do further? Because if you need to go for a competition in about 4 weeks' time, what do you do? What is your suggestion?
My first suggestion is get proper recovery to ensure that you are fully recovered. But along with that, you see that what are the other areas where you can be trained in. So suppose you got a shoulder injury, you can always ensure that you can do a lot of kicking work. So I'll start with the area which is not going to give you a major injury in the first few days or maybe first week. So though you can move your hand, but we are not going to overtrain your hand at that point, and we try and do more kicking or uh, more underwater dolphin kick or stuff technique work, where your injury scopes are going to be very less, despite you might have recovered. And then slowly in the second week onward, we are going to start doing some general and then slowly move to specific and rest. But every step is going to be very, very small. It's very small, like the block periodization, where the steps are very small.
I can ask one more question, which is coming is you have a mixed kind of swimmer who swims mid distance and sprint. How do you plan for that particular swim?
Yes. In this kind of scenario, what we do, we kind of mix and match, and that also comes from experience looking at your swimmer. If you're training that swimmer for many years, so you understand that swimmer pretty well. I'll give an example of one of our swimmer called Shivangi Sharma. So what we do, we kind of push her in distance scatter for a while, and then the second part of the week, after Wednesday, we shift her to sprint. Um, so that's kind of mix match we do. So that mix match you have to do based on your experience and with the swimmer and the need of the swimmer. But you can always mix match. So there can be a fixed distance swimmer, there can be a fixed stroke swimmer. As I said, I don't mention the term sprint for our age groupers. And there can be a swimmer who will be doing the first part of your session in distance and second part in stroke, or first part in stroke and second part in distance. We do that switch for certain swimmers, yes.
Okay. I think there's one question which probably affects a lot of coaches. So we'll take this one. For coaches whose swimmers go to the national level, in the macro cycle, you did not mention how to fit the state or the state selection trials in the periodization plan. Generally, it is 3 to 4 weeks before the national meet. So what about meets or interim meets before your main target meet? How to adjust your periodization to fit those meets in?
Yeah, before I go to that, I think I have mentioned at the beginning of my presentation that this is based on my need, right? Because in my case, probably we expect that the swimmer will be going to the national, even if they are not tapered or even if they haven't gone through enough race preparation. So we generally try to plan it in such manner that the race preparation, at the end of race preparation phase, before taper, they go for their state meet or district meet. That's what we plan. But if your target is mainly for state to national qualifying, then why don't you put that meet as your major target meet, And then right after that, between state to national, you can introduce a small block of training from block pre-duration. Maybe you can do that. Maybe a small block of training to ensure that they perform well in the national also. But again, target meet is on you. What kind of target meet you are planning for? So for me, the target meet was national performance. So I ignored a bit of state level, but though they are into the race preparation so that they can perform well. If you look at the slide, maybe you will see the slide later. I think that answers the question.
Yeah. What's your take on parents? So there is one question come from.
No, parents are one of the stakeholders, so we need to appreciate that fact. The stakeholders for a swimmer are, of course, swimmer itself, us, the coaches, the parents, and the organizers. So we cannot ignore any one of them. We try and educate them, we try and talk to them, and make them understand that what is our philosophy and where we want to take our swimmers. I'll give an example of one of our swimmer. So now that swimmer has been overtrained in her shoulder. So though the swimmer have performed really well, but despite of that, she have been overtrained, so she end up with injury. So when you do overtraining, so you might come from acute fatigue or injury. So that swimmer has been overtrained. And that's why after that, when she have joined us and we have been training her, she's not able to perform well. So we had a talk with the parents. We have told the reasoning. We make them understand what is the reason and what our game plan. So our game plan was to ensure that the swimmer is going to go very basic aerobic practice. And interestingly, parents also understand that all the other swimmers are doing hard training. She's doing very comfortable practice, but she actually managed to do a better performance because we have given enough time for the recovery. So those small things we have to discuss with the parents because they are one of the stakeholders. I think it's very important for us also.
So one question coming from, I think, Sundaresh, since it is a well-known fact that training should be personalized, how to plan, individualize, and implement periodization while training in a group of swimmers?
Can you repeat that again? I'm not very clear what I have to say.
Meaning is that, as you know, that the training is generally personalized by, each swimmer. But then in a group, how do you do a personalized training?
Yes. So what we do is like this. Though we have the major plan, now there's a plan that I have to do aerobic development, or I have to work on anaerobic capacity or aerobic capacity. Now we have to understand the swimmer's capacity, set their restart timing and set their pacing. And this individualized pacing and setting restart timing based on the individual test set. So we do some test set and based on that, we derive with some conclusion that what kind of pacing an individual swimmer need. Though all the